edition of the Food and Farm Show. I'm Gil Dominguez.
And I'm Cheryl Noble. Today we're coming to you from the Auburn Farmers Market, which is the only year-round market in our area.
It's all part of the Foothill Farmers Market Association. Later we'll talk with Courtney McDonald as she'll tell us a little bit history of the market and how you can get involved as well.
Also on today's show, we'll bring you a rose bush pruning workshop brought to you by Master Gardener Lynn Muth and A to Z Ace Hardware.
And that was a lot of fun. We shot that last week.
Very nice.
We'll bring you the whole report this week. And then later in the show, we're going to hear from the lunatic farmer himself, Joel Salatin, as he tells us all about Polyface Farms and what's going on in farming and his thoughts on farming. Very informative. It'll be part one of that show. But first, we need a couple of corrections to make. Last week, we mentioned that Peaceful Valley Farm and Garden Supply was Peaceful Valley Food and Farm. So Autumn Barr Engstrom brought that to our attention as we did their workshop on freshman farmers. We also added an S to their website. It's freshmanfarmer.com. And of course, everybody knows their website is groworganic.com. They're still looking for freshman farmers. If you want to join their blog, tell about your successes and your trials as a freshman farmer, they'd be glad to hear from you. And then everyone can share that information. So thanks a lot, Autumn, for bringing that to our attention.
Be sure to watch our program every Monday night at 6:30 on NCTV Channel 11, also on Suddenlink Channel 16. You can also catch us on our YouTube channel, The Food and Farm Show.
So right now we're ready for our first break. When we come back, we'll hear from Courtney McDonald and visit with Lynn Muth on the rosebush pruning. You're watching the Food and Farm Show on the Touchdown Productions Network.
Introducing CUVÉE leather kitchenware. Kitchenware that lasts a lifetime. Made from genuine leather suede, CUVÉE kitchenware comes in a variety of colors and has been featured on the Food Network. Leather is the perfect kitchenware. It is a natural insulator, washable, and non-flammable. CUVÉE leather kitchenware, chefware, and tableware. Unique kitchenware to complement your favorite place. Create, entertain, and be you.
Briar Patch Co-op Natural Foods Community Market offers organic produce from over 30 local and regional farms and buys organic produce throughout the year from River Hill, Four Frog, Sweet Roots, Johansson, and Naked Farms. You can trust the Patch to hold their producers to the highest standards and always be certified organic. So get to the Patch, the Briar Patch, for organic produce.
Welcome back to the Food and Farm Show. Last week we were at the home of Master Gardener Lynn Muth, where she had a rose bush pruning workshop. So let's see that right now.
I'm Lynn Muth. I'm an employee of A to Z, and I'm also a Nevada County Master Gardener. And I've been trained by UC Davis to prune all kinds of things. And I thought it'd be fun if we did this here instead of me just standing and talking, and I could actually be pruning. I'm going to try to work on these, and then this climbing rose needs a little help, don't you think? I let it go for 2 years just to see what kind of configuration it would take, and then I'm going to try to get up there and see what we can do about it. Well, so the first thing you need to remember when you're pruning is that you go after the 3 Ds first: dead, diseased, and dying. And as you can see here, there's a whole lot of, looks pretty dead to me, doesn't it, you? So we'll get that first. Handy dandy little saw. Who was talking to me about saws earlier? Yeah, this is a pretty good one. I like it better than that flexible blade that so many, the folding ones have, because they bend so easily. So you can see that there's something growing off of the back here. When you're starting to prune, and I've done this so many times it just kills me, you don't look all the way out to the end, or you may not see that there's some growth coming out, and you whack something back, and then as you take it to lay it down, you see growth on the end of it, and that's just so sad. Now, these old roses, like I said, are probably about my age, and we won't go into that right now. Old. Roses will last a long time. Dave, I may have you over here. No, there we go.
How long do they go?
Well, sometimes, see how wiggly this is? I need to really keep this clean back here so that it doesn't die, because that crown, you know, this is pretty dead here, but then I'm seeing all this new here, so, you know, it's hard to tell. If you look at that old rose that you see growing along fences, those things last forever. Most roses are grafted onto that old rose stock. So if you have a rose, and I'll point it out in just a second, see this coming up from here? I don't know if that is from the rootstock or if that's a new shoot like this one is. So I'm going to leave it and pay attention and see what blooms on it. Yeah, a little bit dead right there, huh? Just a little bit. And look at this one. See, this is where this one is coming up, and I can't see it now. Oh, it is coming from right there. So it's going to be questionable. Looks like these old roses aren't going to be around much longer. As you can see, I've got a couple in the wings, and there's 4 down there that I have a place for.
So if the dirt and stuff starts to get around it like that, should you, in just keeping stuff away, should you also maybe mound away from it and make so that it goes down so it's
so the water doesn't catch
lines?
in there?
Yeah, so you don't catch in there. And
now, if you do notice that you've got coming up from the old stock, they suggest that you don't cut it, because what cutting does, cutting encourages more growth from that old rootstock. They suggest that you twist it off. If you can't twist it off, dig down gently, find where it connects to the rootstock, and twist it down into the ground like that. If you cut it, it stimulates the growth hormone, and you're going to have more growth coming from that. All right, I'm not going to cut this. You guys don't need to watch me saw. I'm going to focus up here. Now you'll notice I haven't done anything to these roses. A little bit of black spot. I'm going to ignore the black spot. I don't use chemicals. I'm a huge supporter of pollinators, and any of the systemic chemicals that you mix into the ground go into the blossoms, and any pollinator that touches that will kill it.
Like the rose defense?
I don't use any of it. Okay. Now, if you'll notice, I have these roses up pretty tall. That's my kitchen in there, and I like to be able to look out to the roses. And the hot pink is so pretty. This is a lilac tree. These are the standard color lavender, and there's white ones down over there. And they usually come out by my birthday, early May. So, thing to remember, dead, diseased, and dying, and you want to open up the center. So a lot of this stuff needs to go. I'm seeing dead right here. Wonder how long I can encourage these old roses to stick with me. See where this one is here? But once I cut this back, let's see if I can just break that. Nope, not going to break. I don't like this one because it's coming back up in here, so I'm going to prune it. Prune at a 45-degree angle or straight across. You don't want to prune like this and leave it like this, because why? Does anybody remember? Moisture sets right there, will rot right down in through that xylem. That's the main vein there, and you don't want that to happen. Also sets up, it doesn't heal as quickly as a cut like that. Uh-oh, I'm having what? I'm having dull blade time. Handy dandy little sharpener. You said we didn't have these. This is almost the coolest thing since sliced bread. This little sharpener. I use it to clean off here, and then hit it with that. It's amazing. Used to, you had to take the tool apart to sharpen it, but not anymore. We should have them at the nursery. If we don't, they can order it for you. They run around $8. And I go through so many of them, I find them laying all over the place. Yes. Indeed. Okay, back to pruning. If you try to prune any earlier, you're going to run into trouble. Kind of a rule of thumb is to prune when the forsythia is blooming. Well, I was going to say that, and yesterday I'm kind of out here kind of going through what I'm going to do. Well, if you look at the row of bushes down at the end, what's blooming? Yay! It just burst into bloom this morning. The yellow one down there. Yes, that's the forsythia. It's just not a good idea to prune before then, because pruning again encourages new growth, and new growth is so susceptible to frost and to cold that you're just setting yourself up for a problem. I see people that prune real early. It's just not a good idea. Okay, I want to keep this branch. I want to keep this branch. Now, typically if you're pruning midsummer, if you just kind of do some light pruning, you want to remember that you want to prune to a 5-leaf segment, an outward facing node. This is a node facing outward. You wouldn't want to do this one because it would grow right up into this. This is where you're going to prune. So I want to keep these about this height. This is pretty much, you can see where I pruned here last year. This is all growth from last summer. So you can plan on like 1 foot to 1.5 foot of growth. I want to keep my growth right there. So I'm going to prune this one, outward facing node, 45-degree angle. Don't think I even want this, so we'll just get rid of it. And I'm not sure I like all this going on here, although this one is okay. Now, when you prune, there's a bark collar. See this right here? Like, kind of like scar tissue. You don't want to prune into that. You want to prune on the side of it, just on the side of it. And you don't ever need to put any kind of a wound healing stuff or whatever on it. Some people say they use white glue. I've not ever seen any need to. If you prune close to that bark collar, the bark collar has whatever it needs to heal that wound. And it takes about 10 minutes and that'll start scabbing over. Now look at this mess right here. I'm just seeing, oh my goodness. Can you all see that going up into there? It needs to go. The whole thing needs to go because it's coming back on itself. That wouldn't be very healthy. You also look for joints and how close they are together. This one is a pretty good one. 45-degree angle like that. Anything any sharper you don't want, because any weight gets on it, it's going to rip it. Now see this one coming through here and then going out there? I think this is going to go bye-bye too. Now then, once I've gotten kind of the basic shape I want, I'm going to go through and I'm going to look at all the new growth that's coming out and see where I want to bring this down to. This is pretty open in the middle. Nothing rubbing that I can see. So, keeping with my height that I want. It's really cool when it's this time of the year and you've got these little buds coming out like that, because you can tell where your branches are going to go. Like that. I think this one needs to go. Why did I get rid of that one? Going to the center. You want to keep this open. A lot of times when you have black spot or powdery mildew, it's because the plant isn't, one, getting enough sun. All roses need 6 to 8 hours of sun a day. And also because it's too closed up and there's not enough circulation going through. You can also get scale. Scale can be really, really bad on a plant that doesn't have a lot of circulation. So back to my pruning. Let's see. Okay, now I'm looking here and I don't want to encourage that growth there because that's just going to be so long and spindly. This one right here is questionable, but I'm going to prune to it anyway. It may go into there.
Can you go back for a second pruning sometimes?
At this time?
Like later when that comes out?
Yeah, I do. I kind of prune all year long. That one's going that way. We'll keep it. I didn't want to get this one up here because it goes into the sidewalk, and I have enough trouble with this because it's so crowded. I'll leave this one go into it. So there's that. Now, let's look at this part back here. I'm going to get rid of this. Too crowded. Kind of spindly looking, aren't they? Do you guys' roses look like this? I know winter is so, my goodness, will you ever be all right? Now this one, I'm like, okay, that one would go that way. That's not going to work. Maybe we'll work on this one going out here. And this one is going to go back. These roses, when this starts leafing out, it kind of prevents the the sun from shining. But they typically get all afternoon, and then this is hotter than blue blazes late in the afternoon because the sun is so intense right there. That's why the poppies and the Gerber daisies love it. Okay, I'm not seeing much going, there's a little bit right there, but I don't even like that. That's too much into there, so I'm going to get rid of it. I've given you guys some handouts. Some of you have them, some of you came late. After my demonstration, they're down on the picnic table in the garden room. And I want to talk to you about fertilizers and this, I call it a secret trick to getting your roses to bloom just amazingly. And it's from the Santa Clara Rosarian Society, and I've got the recipe down there, and it uses Epsom salts, alfalfa, and soft rock phosphate. It also suggests that you don't use chemical fertilizers for your roses. That green and yellow box that everyone loves to use, and you mix it up and spray it all around. That stuff is nothing but salt and chemicals, and it kills the soil that your roses are growing in. It makes them look good at the beginning, and then eventually it just builds up the salt layer. You can literally dig down a foot after you've been using that, and you'll see a layer of salt under your roses. Not good. We want to really build up for healthy soil, and healthy soil makes a healthy plant. And you won't need so many of the systemics if you have healthy soil, because the healthy soil will keep all those bad guys away, is the theory. Okay, I'm going to leave this one to come out this way. It's always kind of fun when you're pruning like this, and you kind of think you know what you're doing, and then you go back a month later and you're like, whoa, what was I thinking? Thinking I didn't know you were going to grow like that. Okay, I don't want that one, so we'll see about this one right here. All right, this is a new growth that I'm going to encourage because I'm kind of afraid of here. Now, a girlfriend of mine, and I've never tried this, and I probably shouldn't tell you about it. She has some old roses, and she takes a little steel brush and scruffs up the cambium layer. That's kind of scary to me because you might invite fungi or borers or something like that to get into yours. But look how open that is anyway, so I don't know. Stay tuned on that one. Okay, let me look around here. See some little leaves. Now, let's take those old ugly leaves off. And at the end of all of those little leaves, at the little joint there, you can see where it's starting to come out. So let's do this one.
So those aren't necessarily suckers then, right?
Mm-mm. A sucker usually comes from like the inside, like these are suckers. But because I'm not liking how dead this is looking, I'm going to encourage those suckers. You can do that on a fruit tree. If you need a main lateral on a fruit tree and there's nothing there, you can encourage a sucker to come out. Pruning the end of it will encourage growth to come along the bottom of it. Now that I pruned this, if we weren't going to be having snow on Tuesday, within 2 weeks you'll start to see other things starting to pop out. And when you see those, let me see if I can find one. I'm going to be pruning on you. Let me see if I can find one. You can just rub them off when they're tiny like that. If you don't want them, see this one, don't want it, just rub them off.
I missed right at the beginning. You say we're going to have this big chill down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet you're pruning. Are you really recommending that we all wait? You're doing this for a demonstration.
I'm doing this for a demonstration. Typically, that's a good question, Carol. Typically, I would probably wait till after this, but then again, our marches can be horrible. Yeah, so it's just kind of a,
we live in a very unpredictable weather. You know?
Oh, tell me about it. I love our, what is it, June 4th or 5th, we get hail and a freeze. Yep. You know, I was complaining to an online friend who has, if you love a blog, her name is Jennifer, and she has 1840 Farm. She's on Facebook. She's quite active on Facebook. And I was complaining about our short growing season, and she said, yes, I live in New Hampshire. And I'm like, well, and I think it was a March, and I'm out here in shorts doing something, and she's shoveling snow. So, you know, we can't complain too much about our weather, but it is so erratic, and so that is a really good question. You just have to go with gut feeling. These roses are old roses. They're not delicate. If it were a new rose, like maybe this one hasn't even been potted, as you can see. It's going to go right there. That's going to be a fun one. See all the new growth on it. If it were a new rose like that and the smaller little stems on it, I might be a little more picky about it. But probably next week around snowstorms, I'm just going to be out pruning all my roses, because I've got these here and I've got a bunch down there, and then there's a whole bunch in pots down there. Okay, any more questions? Keep your questions coming, please. All right, I'm going to go down in here and just get rid of this whole thing right there.
I have a question. I have a lot of like these little things coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Should I cut those off? I brought a picture actually. I can show you after.
Okay. Okay, so she's asking what she should do with all of these. Well, with all of them that are coming up?
Yeah, I have a lot, you know, of things like this coming.
I'd let them come.
Oh, let them.
Is it a newish rose?
No, it's not.
You want your rose to be bushy and full, and that's what this is going to be, is bushy and full. These hopefully will come out a little bit more because they're so old. I really have to work with them to get a little bushier.
So leave some of the little skinny things.
You can always take them off later.
Okay.
But remember, when they're this size, you can just rub them off.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a beautiful, I think this is the Olympiad. No, this is Oklahoma. Beautiful red rose. Yeah, but this means it's going to be all kinds of new growth coming out. And honestly, because it's so dry, I forgot to water. So I'm hoping everything comes out, and I'm really glad that that looks like it does. Okay, I'm going to move in here. I'm going to look at this. Look at this. This needs to go bye-bye. Oh, and some of you asked me about these pruners. These are Fiskars ergonomic. See how they move? Took me a little bit to get used to them. I have arthritis. These things are amazing. How they roll and your hand does not get cramped. I pruned a very old Japanese maple for about 3 hours the other day, and I didn't have any pain the next day. Okay, see that one going back? Not good. Going to get right down here with it. Oops. Excuse me, Rose. Want to bring this down a little bit. I'm going to, I think, bring it down to here. There's an outward facing bud right there. Ooh, I got that one a little too flat. Believe me, these bushes will look a lot better in a month. You're welcome to come by and look at them. And that formula that I'm giving you is amazing what it will do. But don't start it yet. It's too early to start fertilizing anything.
When you're bringing those down, does it just end up looking like they're 3 to 6 inches from the joint pieces as you bring them down?
They'll grow up.
They'll grow up.
See this clump right here? Let's see if I can find where I pruned to it last year. Yeah, probably right in here is where I pruned to it last year, and that grew up new. This will all bush out and get really thick. But they are kind of on a stick. It's kind of a take on that standard rose. Have you seen the rose they call standards? They're on a stick and then they poof out. My neighbor down the hill has some. They're beautiful. I couldn't do that with these, so I kind of did the best that I could. I'm considering taking that off right now. But this goes up in there, so this needs to come off because we need to open up the inside. Look at this one. This is a great example of what not to do, Lynn. Because the whole back side of this has been rubbing on this. And you can see, and look at that joint in there. Oh my goodness. Look at the back side. See where it was rubbing? Gets into that cambium layer. Not a good thing. You can also see how much it has grown from here to here since it started just rubbing on that. What not to do. And I'm reminded as I'm making fun of myself, which I'm very quick to do, I think I'll have you go back that way. Nah, I think I'll get rid of you. Gardening is supposed to be fun. Sometimes at the shop people come in and they're in near tears because their tomatoes aren't doing what they want them to do. or their, you know, squash isn't doing what they want it to do. It's kind of like a middle school experiment. You know, if you can't have fun at it, why bother? All right, I see nothing coming out on that. Does anyone? Nope. Okay, so off we go. Yeah, this is all surviving from last summer. Now, I'm putting these black spotted leaves down in here. I'll be raking all this up later on this afternoon. I just don't want to entertain you guys with my raking, unless everybody wants to grab a rake. Okay, see this whole mess in here? Ugh, I'm hoping that I can encourage growth to come out of that. So I'm cutting to that because we don't even want that on there. There's nothing new coming out of that. It's just a cluster of leaves.
Since you're talking about that, I've been looking at this one.
This one, you know what? I'm not going to. I'm going to bring it down to here. Okay. Yeah, they look like sticks when you're finished with them. This one, I kind of pruned on that one. Let me just take the top off of, take this off of that. Take that off of that. Look at this new growth right here. I'm not going to go too far on this because I really want to encourage that. Okay, where are we here? All right, what's growing here?
You can see I totally blew it last weekend.
Uh-oh. Why did you blow it, Carol?
Well, I didn't know this workshop was coming. I took them like way...
Well, you can.
I mean, I'm just like...
Remember, I want mine to be high so that you can see them from the street and so that I can see them from my kitchen. So I have pruned these high, also because I grow things underneath them. I'll be putting a whole, now that the guys have given me all this room, thank you, Dave, I will be putting more perennials in here. This is a total perennial bed. And if you have them high like this, then I've got layers. But if you want your roses down on the ground, like that one, you can trim them down to 10 inches. Okay. Now, what some people do, if you live higher up the mountain, when you trim those down, take those canes that you took off and make like a teepee on it, sprinkle straw around on that. It's going to keep them nice and secure, and if it gets really, really cold. I grew up in Northwest Arkansas, and my dad did that every year to my mother's rose garden. And when he would take the little teepees off with the straw, they would have just filled with buds underneath it in the ice and snow of Northwest Arkansas. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do like this to keep them safe. So it really depends on where you want them to grow. Just remember, where I'm pruning here, I'm going to get about another foot of growth off of here. Okay, here's where I pruned last year, and see all that came off. I'm going to get rid of that this year and see what happens.
So if you brought these all the way back down then, if you were to do that, you'd be cutting into this really old wood somewhere, and how would you fix it because you don't have any bud growth out here?
And there's a big, big chance that you could kill it.
You could lose it.
Yeah, because sometimes when you prune it down into there, it's like a lavender. If you prune too much into that old wood, it doesn't rejuvenate. It doesn't snap back at it. Yeah. All right, we're getting rid of this. Let's see, come here. Yep. There's a bud union right behind it. And I think I'll get rid of all this. Get some fresh life in here. All right, anything else? How about this one? Looks a little spindly, doesn't it? All right, opened up the centers. That's real open here. Doesn't look like too much is going to be crossing anywhere. Any questions? Y'all going to go home and whack on your trees and going to go beat the snow? Pardon me?
In a week? Before the snow or
After the snow. I'm checking my time because I thought I might. Dave, could you get that ladder over here so I could start working on that? The ladder's right back over there behind Lynn. Okay, dead, diseased, and dying. Once the guys cleaned this off, look what I saw. I just saw all kinds of messy stuff. Dead, diseased, and dying. I've got some structural problems here with my old thingy. Again, I'm just going to kind of go through and trim, take off the dead. I would like this to be a little thicker in here, but what I wanted to do with this, with climbing roses, you have all these canes that go straight up. Climbing roses are kind of a misnomer because they don't have tendrils like a Virginia creeper or an ivy. You know how they'll just grab a hold of everything? You have to support your climbing rose. It's not going to, you know, grab a hold of anything. It's just going to start growing. And I did some in here. And I'm not wearing my rose gloves. Again, do as I say, not as I do. So I'm going to put these in here just to kind of get them going. Now, when you're pruning a climbing rose and you have these laterals, I'm going to prune off the tip and encourage all of this to grow. Are you with me? I'm actually going to prune right to there because that's kind of messy. Does everybody see that? Do you see all the new growth that's starting to pop up? This is so fun to do at this time of the year because you can really see where it's going and what it's going to do. Hopefully you can. Dead in there. Ugh. I think that whole thing is dead. Did you know when you knock on wood you can hear if it's alive or not? Yep. Now this one is going to be problematic because it's going in a direction I didn't want it to go. Very gently pull it down. Ah. We sell these really, really nice rose gloves. Do you think I could have them? You sold them to me. I sold them to you. They're really nice. They're called gauntlets. They have sleeves like this and they're made of heavy-duty leather. Oh, well, anyway. I used to work at the rose garden at the mine when I had time, and that was so fun. Dang it. That one is not going to cooperate. I'm going to have to lasso it. Come in here, you. It's going to call for some heavy-duty wire. Let me just anchor it right there. Okay, if I snip the ends of all of those, it's going to encourage growth to come on all of this side. So I'm going to trim this one, just the tippy end. I'm going to trim that one. So you guys with me on this? Trim the ends to encourage the growth. Along the main ones. Now what I'm going to do later, I'm going to come back and anchor these a little bit better. Trimming tippy ends off. Any questions?
I've got one that's like that, it's on the side of the wall, but it got the last spots on it and stuff, and so it lost a lot of the leaves. But it hasn't started to come out yet. I didn't know.
They'll pop back out, especially with this fertilizer trick that I'm going to tell you. I mentioned it was from the Santa Clara Rosarian Society. You'll hear me talking about it on the Master Gardener radio program next week because it's such a great idea. You use a really good fertilizer. I love Dr. Earth products. He has an incredible rose and flower food. You want to make sure whatever you give them has a really high phosphorus in the middle. That's just a general purpose fertilizer. And then there's a formula, and I don't know the exact amounts that you use, but you're going to add alfalfa. You can get alfalfa either at our store in a small box or if you're like me and you have a ton of roses, I get the alfalfa fines at the feed store. They go a lot longer. Soft rock phosphate to encourage those blooms, and Epsom salts. Epsom salts is manganese, and I have this down. I have it on a separate sheet. I keep it, I put it in a plastic sleeve, and it stays in my garden box, because you do this at the beginning of spring, and then 4 to 6 weeks later do it again all through the summer until the end of August. You shouldn't ever fertilize after August. Fertilizer takes about a month to activate unless you make a liquid tea out of all this, the amendments. And if you do it in August, then what's going to happen? You're going to have beautiful blooming roses growing in September, late September, early October, and boom, we might get a freeze, and then you're, you know, really putting your roses in jeopardy. But I have used this stuff, and it was amazing to me what it does to your roses. Now, you don't even need to work it in. You can just sprinkle it all around in a circle, and then put 2 or 3 shovels full of compost, either your own. We sell it at the store. We also sell something that I am such a huge fan of called soil building compost. It's loaded with all kinds of good stuff, a lot of microbial substances in it to get that ground all nice and healthy. If you cover it with compost, then you're not going to need to work it into the ground, because the compost acts as a activator and will start activating it. But keep in mind, until the soil temperature is 40 degrees, no fertilizer is going to become active in your soil. The way you can tell when it's 40 degrees, are your daffodils blooming? I talked to a man today down in Smartsville, and he said he was wanting to add amendments, and he said, yes, my daffodils just started blooming this week. I said, go to it, but remember, you're going to have a cold spot coming up on Tuesday. So something to remember about fertilizers. Or you can, like I was telling you guys, some of you the other night, you can buy a compost thermometer that will tell your temperature of your soil, if you're into such nonsense. Any questions?
Yes, you were talking about the climbing rose being different than the other roses, and I'm not sure. That's where I missed you. We have a rose that's like sprawling all over the place. I don't know. Is it really a climbing rose, or is it?
Well, you can see what this does, how it sent off all of these big long shoots. That's a good way to tell if it's a climber. These don't do that. They send off smaller. Yeah, now this is 2 years old. I let it, actually I planted this, what, 3 or 4 years ago, and I just let it go. And this year I'm going to bring them all down and start wrapping them around in here, because I just wanted to see what its growth habit would be like. Now the Cecil Bruner and the Lady Banks rose, those are tighter, more viney, and they can either be hedged or you can train them to go over an arbor. It's all how you want to do it, but if you're going to put it over an arbor, you're going to need to wire them. And I'm going to go back and tie these with jute to keep them steady, because when the winds come, these are just going to whip back loose again. Okay? Yeah, roses are fun. Roses are easy. A lot of people don't want to grow them because they say they're such a pain. The only pain with roses is deer. Yeah, and if you have deer, good luck, because they're like chocolate on a stick.
I hear that there's you can get a homemade deer repellent that you can whip up yourself.
You can. You go online and you just put in, my friends in Mount Shasta do it. It smells to high heavens and you gag while you're making it. But garlic and rotten eggs. If you don't have bear, you can put a border of blood meal around your rose bed. The deer do not like the smell of blood meal. Your dog will love it. So, you know, kind of weigh that in hand. Someone was telling me the other day, and I've not done any research on this, so I'm kind of like, I don't think so. They said put milk on them. I don't think milk would be strong enough. But I'm really lucky because I'm back behind here. I had a herd of 6 deer wandering down the street yesterday. I'm looking in out of my window going, dog? No, deer. Stay away. Go away. Yeah, they stick their little heads in, but they don't like to come over my fence. So did everybody get one of the handouts? Yeah. The one sheet of paper is that shorter version that you can put in your garden box or your garden bin. Just to remember, the pruning section is out of the Nevada County Western Garden Guide, written by Nevada County gardeners. It's a really, really good section. And the other is from the Santa Clara Rosarian Society. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for coming.
We'll be seeing more workshops on future episodes of the Food and Farm Show, but right now, let's go to Gil and our very special guest, Courtney McDonald.
Thanks a lot, Cheryl. I'm here with Courtney McDonald, site manager of the Auburn Farmers Market. Courtney, thanks so much for letting us come down today.
No, thanks so much for coming. We appreciate it.
Now, the Auburn Farmers Market is really become an institution here in the community.
That's right. This market in particular has been here for almost 25 years this year.
And what a rich history that you're going to have. What are some of the farms that have participated for such a long time?
We've had some growers here since the beginning, since the market first started, and some around that time. Newcastle Produce and also Pine Hill Orchard have been here forever. Snow Citrus Court, Natural Trading Company, Beauty Ranch. Lots of Placer County people have been supporting this market for a very long time.
And there's a rich culture of agriculture in Placer County dating back hundreds of years.
That's right, yes. And in particular, Satsuma mandarins and other citrus and peaches, those type of crops have always been very, very successful here in Placer County.
So right now we're in the winter market, if we want to call it that.
Yes, but as you can see, still a great variety of stuff.
And soon, of course, a lot of the seasonal crops will be coming. What can we expect in the few months coming ahead?
In the next few months, we'll have cherries, then plums will be starting, asparagus will be coming very soon, strawberries and other berries. Those are kind of going to be the late spring, early summer crops that we'll be looking forward to next.
And for the people that don't know where this is, what is the best way to get to the Auburn Farmers Market?
So this is the courthouse parking lot. Courthouse is right behind us. This is a juror parking lot. So it's just off Auburn Folsom at Lincoln Way in Auburn.
And as we came down here today from Grass Valley, there was plenty of signage to direct us on the way.
Right. And you can see the tents from a long way away.
Now, what are the hours of operation?
So 8 to noon are the hours of operation here. Year-round, rain or shine, we're here.
And how long have you been the site director here?
Almost 5 years now, yeah.
And of course, this isn't the only farmers market that's going in Placer County.
That's right. We also have our other year-round market in Roseville on Tuesdays at the Fountains Shopping Center near Whole Foods. That's also year-round, and that's 8:30 to 1 are the hours for that market.
So that's the other year-round. There's 2 year-round. Of course, if you're coming from Grass Valley or Nevada County, this is your closest one right here. But besides the Roseville one, once the growing season really starts, you have more markets than that.
Right. We have 9 different seasonal markets, and they're in various counties, mostly Placer, but some in El Dorado, one in Sacramento County and one in Nevada County. But you can find our schedule at our website, which is foothillfarmersmarket.com.
And then if they want to get in touch with you about any other information, that's the same way to go?
Yes, right through the website. Yep.
All right, go right to the website, and then you'll probably get in contact with Courtney, and she'll be able to tell you all about it. Well, like I was saying before, thank you so much for allowing us to come down and show people on our viewers at the Food and Farm Show what's going on down here in Auburn, and really year-round farmers market. It's kind of a novelty.
It is, but I mean, for Auburn people, this market has been around for so long that they expect it. We have diehard shoppers here, and we welcome any new customers to come and check it out. It's kind of one-stop shopping here. You have breakfast, you have produce, you have meat, eggs, fish, everything's here. So.
And we saw some delicious bread down there.
Yep, local vendors too.
Okay, now it's time for our feature segment of the day, a visit with Joel Salatin, the lunatic farmer from the 3rd annual Nevada County Sustainable Food and Farm Conference.
Okay. It's Joel Salatin time. Remember the first time I heard about Joel Salatin, I was on the phone with my buddy who was a presenter here a couple years ago, Aaron Lucid. You guys know Aaron? Aaron is super cool. I love that guy. Every time I'm on the phone with him, it's at least 90 minutes, though. He can go. He can certainly go. But he was talking Joel Salatin this, Joel Salatin that. I mean, every other word was Joel Salatin. I was like, who is this Joel Salatin guy? And I'm not sure what it was. Was it Fresh the movie or was it Food Inc? I can't recall, but Joel said, the pigness of the pig. And as soon as he said that, I knew he was just really, really cool. And now I can't stop talking about Joel Salatin. So he doesn't really need a huge introduction. He's from Swoop, Virginia, and he's the man over there at Polyface Farm along with his family. Joel Salatin comes to the stage.
Thank you, Sean. Well, it's great to be back with you again and to have a good turnout, and I hope we're having a really good, challenging, encouraging, convicting, and motivating day. So, I've thought a lot about what I could add today to this stellar group of speakers. I don't know how, Dennis just floats around these edges, and he doesn't even make it on stage. He gets everybody to do everything, but he does this. I don't know how he does it, but Dennis, thank you, and you are the deal. Yeah, he's the power behind the power. It's kind of like behind every successful man is one amazed woman. Those kind of things. So what I'd like to do today is I would like to do a little departure of normal. This will be you're going to get a brand new packaging of an idea, and that is the fear of success. Because, 10 years ago, 10 years ago, it seemed like every time I got done talking to a group, I was bombarded with these questions about, well, that's cute, but how do you do that on a large scale? Well, 10 years ago, we were relatively small, 15 years ago, relatively small. 20 years ago, smaller than that, and of course, 30 years ago, a lot smaller than that. And we started like so many little entrepreneurial businesses, and we started very, very small with, a few cows. And growing up, mom and dad worked off the farm because the farm, we didn't know how to make a salary, and the farm was in such poor fertility that we didn't even have enough soil to hold up electric fence stakes. And it doesn't take very much soil to hold up electric fence stakes. So Dad poured concrete in old used car tires and would push a half-inch pipe, one straight up and down and one on about a 10% slope. And my brother and I, he was 3 years older, we'd ride on the back of a tractor platform, and Dad would pile these concrete tires like stanchions up on the back of the tractor platform, put out through the field with a little 4 to 8 in tractor, the little gray and red 4 to 8 in tractors, 1947 state of the art, right? And we'd heave these concrete stanchions off the platform. He'd go back and stick electric fence stakes in them. That's how we built electric fence to move the cows around every day. And I well remember the farm not being able to grow the grass for 15 cows. And there during my high school years, we had to buy hay. We had 12 cows and had to buy hay because we didn't have enough grass for 12 cows. We had large areas half the size of this room that were just saucer-shaped shale, bare rock in the fields. Today, you can push an electric fence stake in those areas. We've grown that much soil up over those areas. But, I remember starting that, and then when Teresa and I, we never made a living from the farm, but Dad was a genius, innovator, total lunatic. And every year he gets smarter in my mind. And so he established his philosophy. When we first came, he asked, the government agents and the private, like Doan management consultants and stuff. I remember these real, sharp-looking, articulate, all men, of course, coming out to the farm to give us advice on how to make a living on this farm. And the advice was, you know, graze the forest, plant corn, build silos, borrow more money, put in a feedlot. You know, it was all this stuff. And Dad was smart enough to know that that was not the answer. And so we set off on a very different course. But we were always the, you know, kind of the laughing stock of the community because, you know, the farm was the most eroded, junkiest place. That's why we bought it, was because it was cheap. Back in those days, land was actually priced based on its productive value instead of its, you know, proximity to an interstate. And or a stoplight. So, you know, we were kind of the laughing stock of the community. I remember very well in high school, this would have been in the early 70s, Dad had developed this this system with loose hay, and I think I'm a relic from a bygone era. I don't know how many people my age have ever worked on a hay loader. You know, that loose hay loader that pushes the hay up and then drops it down on a wagon. You make this pretty, you know, bread loaf looking wagon, you know, the hay drips over the edge. Well, you know, I actually did that. That's the way we made hay. And Dad developed this very ingenious way of rolling it off in one fell swoop with a big jelly roll with a rope up the middle. It was and of course the machine, you could manufacture everything on the machine. And it was very simple. And when round balers first came out, of course, they started out here in the West where it was dry, and then they gradually worked their way east. But I well remember, you know, here I was out there, Dad was driving the tractor, and I was back there, you know, stacking this loose hay on the wagon, right, with my salt bucket sitting up top so I could sprinkle some salt out there. I mean, you talk about hay that it's equivalent to grain. I mean, it just made you could season it with that salt a little bit as you built the pile, and it was all pre-made with the salt in there, and you could put up nice, you know, green, you know, high moisture hay compared to baling. Here goes the neighbor running by with this big, you know, yellow Vermeer round baler, brand new, on the back of this big 150 horsepower John Deere. Dad yells back from the tractor. You know, I'm back there, you know, stacking the loose hay, right? He yells back and he points at the neighbor running down the road. He says, "Old!" He points at me behind the hay loader. "New!" You know. But that was just his spirit and his attitude that I don't care what anybody says, you know, we're just doing our thing, and this thing cost us $50, that cost him, you know, $8,000. We can fix ours, he can't fix his, you know, it's all. So, you know, I grew up that. What I'm trying to get to is we never aspired to be big or successful or all we wanted to be. We wanted to heal the land. We wanted to be faithful stewards of this little niche of God's creation that we've been entrusted with. And we wanted to serve the community and the neighborhood with the best food in the world. We didn't have, we never did and still do not have any sales targets, benchmarks, dollar sign, you know, sales volume, dollars, number of animals, number of acres. None of that. We have none of those, what would be considered, you know, Wall Street type goals. And yet, here we are today, you know, leasing 7 properties, a 20-person staff, you know, a $2 million farm, serving 5,000 families, an on-farm store, 50 restaurants, distribution trucks. You know, and when I look, of course, it seems like an instant, you know, when I look back on it, because all of us, you know, life is a vapor, right? And it seems like yesterday. And so here we are. We're at this point today, and now when I go and do a conference like this, 70% of the questions are, well, that's fine, but how do you scale it down? And compared to 20 years ago, that's a huge difference. Back then, it was all about how do you scale. You know, it's like, can nobody be satisfied? You know, we were really tiny, and everybody's wanting to scale up and saying you're not appropriate to scaling up. And now that we did this, now everybody wonders, how do you scale down? You know, God, you never can please everybody. So Business books will tell you that the only value a person has is you can turn your value three ways. You can either make a product, provide a service, or have an idea. There's only three things that a human, according to the business world, that a human can sell, can get compensated for. And that's a product, a service, or an idea. And one of the reasons that in scaling, in moving up, one of the reasons people move into the kind of the industrial food system, the vertical integration, the Tyson Chicken House, and the on contract with Cargill to grow GMO corn for the alcohol factory. One of the reasons is because very few people are entrepreneurs. And when we talk about building a local food system, when we talk about actually an integrated food system where we actually grow cabbages on the curb by the house, and where we have edible landscaping, we have urban farms, all this new stuff and aquaponics and what Will Allen's doing, all this, it's all entrepreneurial, but according to the business books, fewer than 10% of the population is entrepreneurial.
Thanks a lot, Joel. For the third consecutive year, Touchdown Productions has recorded the Nevada County Sustainable Food and Farm Conference, and we have all 4 keynote speakers, plus all 20 workshops, and the special 4-hour Polyface U workshop, all available on DVD. You can get those at the Touchdown Productions online store. We'll be right back with more Food and Farm. Don't you go anywhere.
Briar Patch Co-op Natural Foods Community Market offers organic produce from over 30 local and regional farms and buys organic produce throughout the year from River Hill, Four Frog, Sweet Roots, Johansson, and Naked Farms. You can trust the Patch to hold their producers to the highest standards and always be certified organic. So get to the Patch, the Briar Patch, for organic produce.
Introducing CUVÉE leather kitchenware. Kitchenware that lasts a lifetime. Made from genuine leather suede, CUVÉE kitchenware comes in a variety of colors and has been featured on the Food Network. Leather is the perfect kitchenware. It is a natural insulator, washable, and non-flammable. CUVÉE leather kitchenware, chefware, and tableware. Unique kitchenware to complement your favorite place. Create, entertain, and be you.
And now it's time for our weekly giveaway. Up for grabs this week is a beautiful 2013 Landreth catalog that is filled with beautiful pictures and descriptions of all kinds of flowers and plants that will inspire you for your garden this year.
It's truly coffee table worthy with many pictures that you'll love to be showing your friends. Be the 20th email at foodandfarm@gmail.com.
So thanks for joining us on another episode of the Food and Farm Show. Remember, you can catch us every Monday at 6:30 p.m. on NCTV, Comcast Channel 11, and Suddenlink 16. You can also watch us anytime you want on our YouTube channel, The Food and Farm Show.
And be sure to join the conversation on Facebook. It's the Food and Farm Show on Facebook. Next week we'll have more in-depth coverage here of the Auburn Farmers Market. Until then, I'm Gil Dominguez for Cheryl Noble. We'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks a lot, Cheryl. I'm standing here with, okay, I don't like that. Sitting at the table.